Father, we thank you for your great love towards us. We just catch little glimpses here and there, but we're so grateful for those. Our capacities are so small. We are so finite that even after you show us something a dozen times, we're still wondering what it means. Help us, Lord, to push, to stretch, to seek to really understand and know. And help us to understand that we're supposed to use the light that you give us. That when we're finally understanding and we're moving through something, then you can give us some more. Help us to take the time. Help us to meditate. Help us, Lord, to just acknowledge how little we do know, so that when we study, when we listen to you, we will actually understand that we need more time with it. Bless us now as we take this time to look at something very familiar, to gain new insights as you speak to us. In Jesus' precious name, amen. All right, picking up at chapter 15, Exodus. Then Moses and the Israelites sang this song to the Lord. What are they singing about? Well, you will recall they're on the eastern shore. And all along that shore are dead bodies. It's the Egyptian army. Now, I don't know what kind of a picture you have about Egypt and Egyptians, but you probably have what the movies did to you. I'm sorry, it's not that way. It wasn't that way. Egypt was not a bunch of ignorant people with a few scribes up here and everybody else dummies. Egypt was just like us. As far as people go, they were people that thought like us. They were people, and when I say us, I'm talking about natural human beings. I'm not talking about Christians. They had homes. They worked. And for the most part, they were happy people. They had food, good food. They had fruits and vegetables and bread and all kinds of really good stuff. As a matter of fact, it was so good, that's what the Israelites remembered when they left. See, when they left, they said, oh, we had everything when we were in Egypt. We had leeks, and we had, the first thing they talk about is food. The Egyptians had a beautiful civilization. They weren't a bunch of crazy people wandering around in little... They were civilized, they were cultured, they were refined people. They had science, they had art, they had... They were a high civilization before the Greeks came around. They had one of the finest armies ever put together. They had an army of brave, courageous people. Nobody messed with the army of Egypt. Yeah. And here they are, they're all dead on that shore. That cream of the crop, 600 chariots of Pharaoh. So Moses sang. He knew what Egypt was. He had something to sing about. He said, look at what God did. This fantastic power in the world, this nothing better than this civilization, this army. I will sing to the Lord, for he has triumphed gloriously. Oh. See, you have to know a little bit about Egypt before that sentence means something. God has triumphed gloriously. You know, when we think about them worshiping these different animals, that was not such a dumb thing if you don't know God. They weren't worshiping the animals. They were worshiping what they thought the animals represented. See? When they put up a cat, they knew what cats were. Big deal, cats. But that cat represented a god, and there was something behind that, a real power. Now, you couldn't do anything to cats because it was a symbol, but they knew the cat by itself wasn't something. That's precisely what a big church today says. We don't worship the statues, we worship what's behind them. See? So it's the same rationale. All right, so I will sing to the Lord, for he has triumphed gloriously. Horse and driver he has hurled into the sea. The Lord is my strength. Oh, do you get that? The God who did this to Egypt, he's my strength. Well, how strong am I now? Yeah. Do I believe that? That the God who does that, the God who did all things through all history, he is my strength? Or do I go around with a long face saying, oh, I hope I make it through the day? Yeah. He is singing something here. They all are. They're all singing. He has become my deliverance. This is my God. I will enshrine him. The God of my father, I will exalt him. The Lord, the warrior. Is that the way you think of God? And by the way, it's talking about Jesus here, isn't it? Jesus is Jehovah in the Old Testament. 2 Jehovah's Witnesses came to my door this morning. We had an interesting little talk. I told them, Paul says Jehovah is Jesus. And they the Lord is his name. Pharaoh's chariots and his army is cast into the sea, and the pick of his officers are drowned. Now see, there it is. The pick of his officers are drowned in the sea of reeds. The deeps covered them. They went down into the depths like a stone. Now that's a picture, isn't it? Like a rock. Boom. Your right hand, O Lord, glorious in power. Your right hand, O Lord, shatters the foe. In your triumph you break your opponents. You send forth your fury. It consumes them like straw. At the blast of your nostrils, the waters piled up. Now that's poetry. God blows. Well, you know what? There's more in this that I hope we see. The word in the King James is wind, isn't it? What is the Hebrew word for wind? Ruach. Ruach. It's the same word for spirit. The Spirit of God is what did that. See? But it's poetry here. The breath of your nostrils. It's beautiful. All right. The floods stood straight up like a wall. The deeps froze in the heart of the sea. The foe said, I will pursue, I will overtake, I will divide the spoil. My desire shall have its fill of them. I will bear my sword, my hand shall subdue them. You made your wind blow, the sea covered them. They sank like lead in the majestic waters. I wish I could hear the melody to this. We're going to someday, you know. You're going to sing it. This is the song of Moses. Have you thought about that? God's people are going to sing the song of Moses and the Lamb. Well, here's the song of Moses. Who is like you, O Lord, among the celestials? Who is like you, majestic in holiness, awesome in splendor, working wonders? You put out your right hand, the earth swallowed them. It reminds me of Job. I was invited one time to talk to 250 young men in a school, a young boys' school. And I went, but they didn't tell me something. They were all Jews. It was a Jewish school. And so I'm sitting there, I said, what in the world am I going to tell these people? I can't tell them the regular things I talk about. So I said, I'm going to talk about astronomy. And they were all very bright. Let me tell you, they were a bunch of bright people. And so we started in. The moon, big deal. The moon. The sun, oh yeah, that's a bigger deal. Describe the sun a little bit. Then you have to go out 4 light years to find the next closest thing out there. And it's big and it's hot. And then from there, and then we went to Betelgeuse, which is 350 times bigger than our sun. And that's a little star. There are stars out there 400 times bigger than Betelgeuse. And then there are the galaxies. And now you start stretching. A galaxy here, a galaxy here, a galaxy here, a gas cloud there, and you start adding numbers, and you go until your brain, you can't take this anymore. Your brain can't deal with the numbers once you start looking at it. And in Job, it says, Job was looking at all this. You know, God told him to look at the Pleiades. He told him to look at this bunch of stars, 100 stars all going together through space. Yeah, 100 stars. They're not going out like the astronomers tell you other things are. They're all together, flying together like a flock of geese. And all the different things God told Job about. And then after Job does all of this, and he talks about what the spiders do, and then Job says, talking about the astronomy, he says, these are the outskirts of his ways. Who can understand the thunder? These are the whisperings of God, what we can see. The whispers of God. You know, in the book of Revelation, it says, God says, it's finished. It's done. And when he says those words, this whole earth shakes. He's going to let those words come to us. And yet he's still whispering, I'm sure. Oh, Moses is singing. This is the God he knows. You put out your right hand and the earth swallowed them. See? In your strength. Oh, it says in your love you lead the people. Isn't it nice to be loved by somebody like that? In your love, you lead the people you redeemed. Now you get an idea what this song is all about. This is the song of redemption. Yeah. The song of the Lamb has a different emphasis. But first you're redeemed. And then you are sanctified. That's the song of the Lamb. What he's going to do in us after he's redeemed us. All right, continuing. In your strength, you guide them to your holy abode. He's taking us home, see. The peoples here, they tremble. Oh, yeah, they trembled. Agony grips the dwellers in Philistia. Now are the clans of Edom dismayed, and the tribes of Moab, trembling grips them. All the dwellers in Canaan. Are those familiar? Are aghast. Terror and dread descend upon them. Through the might of your arm they are still as stone, till your people cross over, O Lord, till your people cross whom you have ransomed. Now this, of course, is not talking about crossing over the Red Sea. They already did that. It's crossing over into Canaan, and these people are saying, you guys are coming over here? With that kind of a God? You will bring them and plant them in your own mountain, the place you made to dwell in, O Lord, the sanctuary, O Lord, which your hands established. The Lord will reign forever and ever. Then Miriam, his sister, starts in with a song with the women. We won't go through that. It's just a couple lines. So it's time to move. They've done their worshiping. They've done their celebrating. It's time to move now. They're headed south. Now, do you remember the piece of land we're looking at? The Great Sea is here. Egypt is here. Here's the coastline to Palestine. The Philistines are in here. They didn't go that way. There's a piece of land that goes like this, looks like a heart. And down here is Mount Sinai. So from up here, they've crossed the sea, they've sung their song, now they're headed south. Now, I think the movies did it to you again. You think, no doubt, that when they're going across there now, all they see is sand. No, that's not what it looked like. There are 3 different territories in there. And the first thing they hit is rocks. Lots of rocks. Then they hit a part that does have some sand. But where Sinai is all mountains. But it's called the desert, the wilderness. See? But it's mountains. And as they come down this side where the Red Sea is, when they come down there, as they're on the shore, heading south, and they looked east, they would see what looks like a big wall. A mountain range. And that's what it's called. It's called Shur, wall. It's the wall. They see that wall, and they're walking on this side of it, the people. Now, part of what it looks like when you get down where they're going, it's made out of red granite. So it doesn't even look like our kind of rocks. It's red granite, and then in different places, the greenery, you see this red and this green. And down where Sinai itself is, the mountains are all there. And you can't walk on the mountains. You walk in between them, down at the bottom. Those are called wadis. It's where the water used to go through. And so you have all these people moving through these places at the bottom of these mountains. Okay, so it says they're going to start moving now. Verse 22. Moses caused Israel to set out from the Sea of Reeds. They went on into the wilderness of Shur. They traveled 3 days in the wilderness and found no water. Uh-oh. No water. Have you ever gone without water for 3 days in the heat? That's hard. It really is hard. Now, I'm sure when they left Egypt, they had bags and they had water and they had supplies. But it's running out about now. And they're out there, the water's running out. How many people? Over 2 million people? And they're looking for water. No faucets. Now the people, I'm sure, took care of themselves. They had some water, but they're getting a little bit nervous now. They're way out here, and they don't know where the next water is. But they have cows. And you can't run cows for 3 days without water. They have to have water. So things are going to begin dying real quick here, and they know it. Now, a mule can go for 4 days without water. But a cow can't do that. So they're saying, oh, we need water bad. Moses, come on now, we need water. So there they are, and they found some. They say, we're in good shape now. And the first one to try to taste some went, and they noticed the cows weren't drinking it. It was bitter water. And there are some places where the bitter water, you can get it and put some stuff in it, and it'll be all right to drink, even if it doesn't taste good. But this was bad stuff. There was no way to fix it, and they knew it. And so they started doing something. Now, they just sang the song. You know the words of the song. That's why we went through it. And now, they're murmuring. They're murmuring. That's what these people do when they don't like something. They start murmuring. Luther said something I just discovered this morning. I like to read Luther. He's an interesting character. He has a lot of real insights, spiritual insights. There are some times when he really gets carried away, though. But here's something I just found today that he said. He said, when our provision ceases, our faith is wont to come to an end. Now, did he understand people, or did he? When things run out, so does our faith. Oh, well, that's where they are. They said, hey, we need water. What's this faith stuff? We want water. So Moses, they said, what should we drink? So he cried to the Lord. And we know that the Lord showed him a piece of wood. He said, this will take care of the water. Now, why did God take them this way? Yeah, you remember, the cloud is leading them. They just didn't go there. You have to remember the cloud is taking them every place they go. It never leaves them. That's what it said last time. And so, why is God doing this? Yeah. He wants them to get in trouble. Because it seems that's the only time we ever want God to do something for us. So he purposely is giving them trouble. He said, now I've got to train you people. You've been slaves over there. You have been doing what the Pharaoh tells you all the time. You don't know how to do anything for yourself. Come on now, we have to wake you up. We've got to help you learn how to think, how to have faith, how to have some trust here. This is lesson number 1. Mara, bitter water. Well, here's their first lesson. And of course, they're not doing very well. They're griping and complaining and asking Moses, what are you doing to us? Well, I'm thinking of some more directions to go here. I don't think we'll do that just yet. So here they are. And of course, there's something to drink now. If you will heed the Lord your God diligently, doing what is upright in his sight, giving ear to his commandments, and keeping all his laws. Wait a minute. Hold on just a second here. I have talked to a lot of Sunday keepers, and they all tell me the same thing. There were no laws until Exodus 20. What's God saying here? What's he saying? Keeping my laws. They know he has laws. That would have made no sense if they didn't know that. Keep my laws. Then I will not bring upon you any of the diseases that I brought upon the Egyptians. For I, the Lord, am your healer. See, in the King James, it says it very nicely, I will put none of these diseases on you. God says, if you will be my people, I will keep the diseases away from you that everybody else gets. Now, that doesn't mean we won't get sick. That isn't what it means. But if we are faithful to God, he's going to keep us in ways we don't know anything about. Things we never knew we should have had, we didn't get. None of these diseases. Now, I don't have time to go through it today, but it's time we mention it because we haven't done a lot with it. This is at the beginning of God putting together a nation. They are now a nation. They are now a people of God. He has delivered them from Egypt. He's taken them across the river. He's dealt with the Egyptians. They are now his nation. He's developing them. And the very first thing he does to them is give them a health message. That's how God establishes a people. The first thing they're to know is they belong to him, body and soul. Okay. Do you know of another time God did that in history? When God first called out a people he was going to call Seventh-day Adventists, the very first thing he gave them was a health message. That's it. That's how God always establishes a people. The first thing he does is fix them so they're going to be healthy if they obey him. Okay? That's the if. Life is better. Oh, okay. All right. The symbol of the cross. Life was bitter until Christ died for us. Now life is sweet. You can do that. That's not a problem. That's a good spiritual lesson. Okay? There are many spiritual lessons in here if you want to dig for them. That's good. Everything Jesus does for his people is to teach the spiritual lesson. The foundation of the plan of salvation was laid in sacrifice. I'm going to give you a page. You need to study this page. Christ Object Lessons, page 58. There's a question on that page. Jesus denied himself for our salvation. He became poor that we might become rich. Shall we, the members of his body, not deny ourselves? That's the question on that page. Shall we live in a way that our Lord himself did not live? The issue in Christianity is self-denial. I mentioned to some that were sitting around here before, I was a pastor for almost 15 years in the organized work, and I never once asked a person when they were going to be baptized if they were dead to self. I never asked it. That is a crime. We can't baptize people who don't even understand that's what Christianity is. Yeah. We go through 28 doctrines and then leave out Christianity. Isn't that something? I can say that because that's what I did as a pastor for almost 15 years. I never once asked a person, have you died to sin? Have you read Romans, the 6th chapter lately? How shall we, who are dead to sin, continue therein any longer? You know, I used to say that verse in Sabbath school, and it would always stop the Sabbath school cold. That's when I was sitting there as a member, not a teacher. Just sitting there. I would read that. I'd say, who's that? Does the Bible say that? Yeah, that's what the Bible says. Reckon yourselves to be dead indeed to sin and alive unto God. That's what it says in that chapter. The people murmured. And God gave them a health message. You know, I can stop churches cold right now just by saying, do you people have pizza parties? That's against God. He told us not to do that. We're a church having pizza parties? I'm not going any more than that. It becomes too familiar. We're not doing a lot better than these Hebrews here were doing. At least they murmured out in the open. They came to Elim, where there were 12 springs of water. Water. And 70 palm trees. And they encamped there beside the water. They liked that. They settled in. They said, "Cow, let's go after it. Get fat again." So they stayed there for a while. Now we know they must have stayed there a while because the next time we see a time factor between the time they left and where we know where they are again, a month has passed by. See? Into the second month, they're doing something. All right, let's do chapter 16. Setting out from Elim, the whole Israelite community came to the wilderness of Sin. Now, that word sin, seen, scholars are not agreed as to where that came from. But if you look at the history of that part of the world, you will find that people who lived there, and there were a lot of people that lived there. Don't think this is that desert of sand. No, this place supported people. There were palm trees. Did you see that? There was water. You just had to know where it was, and there was always something growing around it, and you could irrigate. The word sin is found back there in this part of the world for the people who worshipped the moon god. Yeah. And so the wilderness of sin was the place where the moon god was worshipped. So that's where they're going. And it says it was the 15th day of the second month. They were in the wilderness. The whole Israelite community grumbled against Moses and Aaron. The Israelites said to him, if only we had died by the hand of the Lord in the land of Egypt. They didn't want to die out here. They want to die in Egypt. When we sat by the flesh pots, they're thinking about food again. Now, they're eating, they're alive, but there's something about Egypt they really enjoyed. You want to know what it was they enjoyed? Figs, pomegranates, oranges, plums, mulberries, apricots. They had big vineyards, and they did them the same way we do my mind's in California. In Napa, I lived there for a while, the same way. Of course, they had meat, they had fish, they had leeks, they mentioned those. They had bread, they had vegetables. I mean, they had lots of really good food. And here they are out in this wilderness with just whatever they can carry. And they're saying, it was really pretty good in Egypt. And so God says, verse 4, okay, I'll rain down some bread. I'll give you some bread. And they weren't really too interested in bread, I don't think. Just bread. They wanted something they could get their teeth into, something like quail. I can't read these numbers. I just cannot see them in this book. But verse 6. No, I need something before that. Verse 4, I will rain down bread from the sky, and the people shall go out and gather each day, that day's portion, that I may thus test them. Oh, here's another test. All through this whole thing, God is testing them. He's educating them. He's trying to get them to become a real nation. On the sixth day, when they apportion what they have brought in, it shall prove to be double the amount they gather each day. So Moses and Aaron said to the Israelites, by evening you shall know it was the Lord who brought you out from the land of Egypt. In the morning you shall behold the presence of the Lord, because he has heard your grumblings. Well, how did they not know the Lord's presence with them? Didn't they see the cloud? There's the cloud! And God says, because he's heard your grumblings. For who are we that you should grumble against us? Since it's the Lord, Moses continued, who will give you flesh to eat in the evening and bread in the morning. Because the Lord heard your grumblings. Verse, I shouldn't say that because I can't read it. 11, the Lord spake to Moses, I have heard the grumbling of the Israelites. Speak to them and say, by evening you shall eat flesh. In the morning you shall have your fill of bread, and you shall know that I am the Lord your God. In the evening quail appeared and covered the camp. And that's not a problem in that part of the world. The quail go through there. Maybe not in this amount, but they go through there. In the morning there was a fall of dew upon the camp. When the fall of dew lifted, There over the surface of the wilderness lay a fine and flaky substance, as fine as frost on the ground. Now, there are scholars who have been over there, who have looked at the place, and in 3 months of the year, there is something that looks like hoarfrost on the ground. They say, that's what it was. Well, wait a minute. That's just for 3 months. This is for 40 years. They're forgetting a couple things here. And the only way that happens is bugs, little insects, hit a tamarisk and makes holes. And that oozing comes out those little round hoarfrost. You can't feed people that. And you sure can't cook it. So the scholars, I don't know where they come from, these scholars. God did this. He's testing them again. So what's happening here? When the Israelites saw it, they said to one another, what is it? Now that proves it wasn't what the bugs do. They knew what that was. But they looked at this and they said, what is it? And even this is a problem to scholars. The scholars say it doesn't mean what is it. The Hebrew words here are man, who, and there's no what in that. Yeah. Some better scholars have gone back, further back into history, and they have found out there is a word, mana, that means what? So whoever translated this was right. What is it? They didn't know what it was. What is it? What does your Bible say right after that? For they didn't know what it was. I mean, how plain does something have to be? The Bible says they didn't know what it was. Naturally, they'd say, what is it? I really marvel at how some of these people write books on nothing. Moses said to them, this is the bread. This is the bread which the Lord had given you to eat. This is what the Lord has commanded. Gather as much of it as each of you requires to eat, an omer. Now that's 2 quarts. Okay, 2 quarts a day. To a person, for as many of you as there are, each of you shall fetch for those in his tent. So you gather enough for the whole family, 2 omers each. 2 quarts each. The Israelites did so, some gathering much, some little, but when they measured it to the omer, he who had gathered much had no excess, he who gathered little had no deficiency, they had gathered as much as they needed to eat. Moses said, let no one leave any of it over until morning. Now God is teaching them another lesson. We aren't going to have any lazy people in the church. You're going to have to do this every day. Now, I hope we got the lesson, because Jesus has not changed. He doesn't want any lazy people in the church. Every member is to be a worker. Doing what? Winning souls. See? Nobody is off the hook. Now, we don't all do it the same way. We don't all do the same thing, but we're doing something. Okay? But they paid no attention to Moses. Well, here we go again. They're only a month and a half away. And some are not paying attention to Moses. And so some of them left of it until morning, and it became infested with maggots. And Moses was angry with them. So they gathered every morning. Okay, they finally got it figured out. We got to get out there in the morning. Why in the morning? Yeah, because the sun comes up. So God says, you better gather the bread. You get my word in you first thing in the morning, because when you run into the heat, it's going to be too late. Yeah. The first person that looks cross-eyed at you, you're going to talk nasty to them. No, get the bread in the morning. On the sixth day, they gathered double the amount of food, 2 omers for each. When all the chieftains of the community came and told Moses, he said to them, "This is what the Lord meant. Tomorrow is a day of rest, a holy Sabbath of the Lord. Bake what you would bake and boil what you would boil, and all that's left put aside to be kept until morning." Now, I have to say something very difficult for the women in our church today because nobody has been instructing them properly, I'm afraid. Not for a long time. We used to do it. I don't hear it anymore. God is teaching here. I don't want anybody cooking on the Sabbath. No meals are to be prepared on the Sabbath. You do it all on Friday. That's the day of preparation. What you're going to cook, you cook on Friday. Now, out there in the desert, it was warm enough. They didn't need to worry about cold food. Okay. So God said to them, if you start a fire on the Sabbath, rocks. You're going to keep my Sabbath holy. And you're not going to keep it holy doing your thing. So if you start a fire, that's it for you. God would not have said this if they were in a place where it was snowing. Okay. He would have told them, yeah, go ahead and start a fire. You have to stay warm. You have to have your food in the eatable form. Yeah, that's okay. But only where it's so cold you have to do that. Okay? So we have to use our mind and our spirit here to understand what God is doing. He's saying the Sabbath is holy. And in a place where you don't have to heat your food to get it so you can eat it, cook it. So now you can heat your food to make it palatable. That's okay. The food you have already prepared, that's all right. You have a corn casserole. You put it in your refrigerator overnight. That's not going to be too good to eat that cold casserole like that. Go ahead and warm it up, but don't start cooking one on the Sabbath. Okay? That lesson is in the Bible and it's never gone away. And we as a people need to get back to this because we are not doing well with this one. That also means polish your shoes before Sabbath. That also means lots of things. Take care of whatever you need. Put out your clothes. You don't need to be ironing clothes on the Sabbath. This means put aside your Time magazine. You don't read that on Sabbath either. There is no Time magazine on Sabbath. There's only you and God and Sabbath worship. And it goes on and on. We're not discussing how to keep the Sabbath here today, but these principles are right here. And God showed them how to do this for 40 years before he turned them loose. Yes, 40 years of how to keep the Sabbath. All right, so then, by the way, he said 6 and 7. What would they make out of that? They knew about the weekly cycle, didn't they? There's no mystery about the number 6 and the number 7 to them. The weekly cycle has been saved all during that time. Even during their slavery, even though they didn't do Sabbath very well, they knew the days of the week. That goes way back before Exodus 20. All right. So what do we have happening here? I just have a few minutes to finish. I think we'll just finish this chapter. Verse 27. Some of the people went out on the seventh day to gather, but they found nothing. Well, now they know which is the seventh day for sure. They found nothing. And the Lord said to Moses, how long will you men refuse to obey my commandments and my teachings? What commandments? Every Sunday keeping minister I talk to tells me the commandments didn't come around until Exodus 20. But here it is in chapter 16. God saying, how long are you going to refuse to obey me? Well, does it sound like they were only doing it for 2 weeks? No, he says, how long? That sounds to me like a long time. They were in Egypt for 215 years. That's pretty long. God is saying to them, I have overlooked certain things because you've been slaves. But how long are you going to keep disobeying me? You're not in Egypt anymore. You're not slaves anymore. I have redeemed you. How long are you going to stay in disobedience? Mark, the Lord has given you the Sabbath. Therefore, he gives you 2 days' food on the 6th day. Let everyone remain where he is. Let no one leave his place on the 7th day. So that people remained inactive on the 7th day. Well, that's interesting. That isn't really the way it turned out to be, but we'll leave it for now. The house of Israel named it manna. It was like coriander seed. It was white, and it tasted like wafers in honey. So we have these little things, whatever they are. They have some oil, they have some honey, and they have what is it? Made into little cakes. It must have been pretty pleasant. Some of the best food I've eaten has been very plain like that. There are some little, the name just left me now. Some little nugget-like hard bread. That's all it's got in it is the wheat, just a dash of honey, some water, and just cook it. It really is good. Moses said, this is what the Lord has commanded. Let 1 omer of it be kept throughout the ages in order that they may see the bread that I fed you in the wilderness when I brought you out from the land of Egypt. And Moses said to Aaron, take a jar, put 1 omer of manna in it, place it before the Lord to be kept throughout the ages. Well, that's a different measurement than I remember in the King James. That's all right. As the Lord has commanded Moses, Aaron placed it before the pact to be kept. Oh, there's a new word. The pact. I hadn't seen that before in here. King James says testimony, doesn't it? That's the 10 Commandments written down. That's God written finger there. That was inside the ark. They don't have the ark yet. So this is saying what they're going to do. Okay? They don't have a sanctuary yet. That doesn't come for a while. All right. So it says here, and the Israelites ate manna 40 years. How many Sabbaths is that? That's over 2,000 Sabbaths. Yeah. Did they know when the Sabbath was? 2,000 of them? Sure they knew. And God must have wanted them to know. Why did he make them keep over 2,000 of them under his direct supervision with 3 miracles to show them what day it was? Sabbath, manna every day, first miracle. 2 times on the 6th day, no manna on the 7th day. That's 3 miracles a week for 40 years to show them which day was the Sabbath. I think we have pretty good authority to say we understand which day is the Sabbath. Now, in the Hebrew, it says a Sabbath. But it seems to me that when God points out that particular day for 40 years, he could easily have said the Sabbath. And I think that's what he meant. The Hebrew doesn't always use the definite article. It says, until they came to the settled land. Well, no more manna after that. They ate the manna until they came to the border of the land of Canaan. All right, that's all we'll do with this. We have a few minutes. I would like to point out something about the song of Moses and the Lamb. The youth instructor, August 12th, 1897. Glory to God in the highest, and on earth peace, goodwill towards men. Now, who's being talked to here? Well, we know what this is. This is when the shepherds heard the song of the angels. Now, isn't this to the human race? Or is this to the Seventh-day Adventist people? See? There's a context here for this statement. The angel anthem that rang over the hills and plains of Bethlehem will never cease, but will swell into full and complete harmony. The Son of Righteousness will arise with healing in his wings and will shine forth in the splendor of his glory. Then the voice of peace and goodwill to men will sound forth as the voice of many waters. And they sing the song of Moses and the servant of God and the song of the Lamb, saying, Great and marvelous are thy works, Lord God Almighty. Just and true are thy ways, thou King of saints. Who shall not fear thee, O Lord, and glorify thy name? For thou only art holy. For all nations shall come and worship before thee, for thy judgments are made manifest. Who sings the song of Moses and the Lamb in this setting, this context? It's mankind that's saved. Maranatha, page 316. Christ saw of the travail of his soul and was satisfied. Now that's what Isaiah says. Who is Isaiah talking about that Jesus saw? The redeemed. Christ saw the travail of his soul and was satisfied. He viewed the expanse of eternity. He saw the happiness of those who through his humiliation should receive pardon and everlasting life. He was wounded for their transgressions, bruised for their iniquities. The chastisement of their peace was upon him, and with his stripes they were healed. He heard the shout of the redeemed. He heard the ransomed ones singing the song of Moses and the Lamb. Now, contrary to what you heard sometime in the past, it is not Seventh-day Adventists only who sing that song. That is a popular teaching today, that Seventh-day Adventists sing. Why do we teach that? Because in Great Controversy, page 648, it says only the 144,000 can sing the song of Moses and the Lamb. And so the popular misinterpretation all over the world of Seventh-day Adventism is only Seventh-day Adventists will sing the song of Moses and the Lamb. That's not biblical. And Ellen White never said it would only be Seventh-day Adventists. She said only the 144,000. So we are not understanding who the 144,000 are. That's our problem. It's not a biblical problem, and it's not Ellen White's problem. It's what we're teaching today as a tradition. That's a problem. Now, I realize that when you say we're teaching something that's not in the Bible, immediately, oh, we're the true church. Well, that's true. We're the true church of God, but there's only some of us that are the true church. I'm sorry. The true church says the truth. Now, there are certain secondary things we don't need to agree on. That's fine. But we ought to stick together on the things that have been revealed to us as the people. And if we're too lazy to find out what they are, that's a problem. I'll give you the one thing you need to remember, because this is a hard thing to get a hold of. In the Bible, the 144,000 are named as the 144,000 in Revelation 7 and Revelation 14. But the 144,000 are all through the Bible, starting with Genesis 3. Yeah. Genesis 3 is the first time we see the plan of salvation. And then through Genesis, we have Abraham named as the father of the faithful, the covenant relationship. Then he has Isaac. And then Jacob. And then the 12 sons. And now you can see the 144,000. The number 12. 12 times 1,000. The ordinal 10. You get to 144,000. It's a symbol that starts way back in Genesis 3. Now, God has called His people redeemed from the earth. That's what it says in Revelation, doesn't it? Redeemed from the earth. Here are they who are without guile in their mouth. Oh, well, that's only a special kind of Seventh-day Adventist. Those have to be the ones who are translated without seeing death, because they finally got perfect. No, I'm sorry. That's the popular misconception. There is no special group of Seventh-day Adventists. Sorry. You either are a Seventh-day Adventist or you're not. You either belong to God or you don't. Now, here's how we solve the problem of the 144,000. And I understand why it takes people a long time to see it. It took me at least 3 years to figure it out when I was looking for it. I knew there was a problem and I couldn't see how to get past it. But one day it happened. Revelation 7 and Revelation 14 are talking about two different groups of the 144,000. There are two different groups. In the one group where it lists the 12 tribes, that's all of the redeemed. You have to be able to get into heaven somehow, into New Jerusalem somehow. You have to get through one of the 12 gates. And the gates have the names of the tribes. You have to go through one of those. You have to be one of those to get in. So all the redeemed have to go through a gate to get into the city, the New Jerusalem there. So when it lists the tribes beginning with Judah instead of Reuben, you're talking about all the redeemed. In the other place, Revelation 14, that is a time message. That can't be all the redeemed. It's a particular time in history. And that particular time in history begins in 1844. Fear God. Give glory to Him. For the hour of His judgment, it's come. October 22nd, 1844. It's a time message. And the people who give that message are the second group of the 144,000. From 1844 on, that is a particular group of the 144,000. Before Jesus comes, the The last living person who receives Christianity will be a Seventh-day Adventist. You can't be a Methodist on the day that Jesus comes. You can't be a Baptist. You have to be a Seventh-day Adventist. Because only commandment keepers who have the faith of Jesus are going to go to heaven that day. It's very important that we get out and start telling some people these things. So what are the two groups? The vast multitude. See? Which inside of the vast multitude has another group called the first fruits. So there it is. Now you know who the two groups are. The first fruits and all the rest. That's two groups of Seventh-day, not Seventh-day, but two groups of 144,000. Once you see that distinction, it will be easier for you to read the Bible, because the Bible will be to all Christians. Not a pre-Adventist Christian and a post-Seventh-day Adventist Christian. No, there's no distinction like that in the Bible. Luther was every bit as much a Christian as any Seventh-day Adventist is ever going to be. Okay? And that's the first question I ask a minister when we're off in these areas. I ask him, how is Luther going to get into the city? Doesn't he have to go through a gate? That means he's one of them. Now, here's the next question I ask them once they're locked into the idea that only Adventists are going to sing the song of Moses and the Lamb. When Moses is standing there in this fantastic throng, is Moses going to sing the song of the Lamb, Moses and the Lamb? I mean, it just takes a little bit of cogitation to realize you're being told wrong someplace. Moses is going to sing the song of Moses and the Lamb. And I have about 30 statements in here where Ellen White says all the redeemed are going to sing the song of Moses and the Lamb. How did we ever get off on this stuff? I'll give you one you can go home and read right away to check on me. Acts of the Apostles, 601 and 602. She says who sings the song of Moses and the Lamb right there. Last page of the book. She says it's all the redeemed. Now, she couldn't say one thing there and say something different in Great Controversy. They have to agree. And the one in Acts of the Apostles is so plain you can't miss it. All right. We have run out of time, so we'll go ahead and close for now. I'm tempted to read some of these very plain statements. All right. We are now moving to... Oh, I have another... Okay. Oh, that's right. We started late, didn't we? Okay. All right. Let me give you another plain one here. I'm sifting through here. Patriarchs and Prophets, 289. Is that an easy book to get a hold of? I don't know of a Seventh-day Adventist who doesn't have that book. I don't know why they haven't read it. Sing ye to Jehovah, for he hath triumphed gloriously. Have we heard that someplace today? This song and the great deliverance which it commemorates made an impression never to be effaced from the memory of the Hebrew people. That song does not belong to the Jewish people alone. It points forward to the destruction of all the foes of righteousness and the final victory of the Israel of God. Now, who is that? The Sunday-keeping churches say that's literal Israel. Come on now. We know better than that. It's all the redeemed. The prophet of Patmos beholds the white-robed multitude that have gotten the victory, standing on the sea of glass mingled with fire, having the harps of God, and they sing the song of Moses, the servant of God, and the song of the Lamb. Now, that's been in Patriarchs and Prophets all the time. You read those words to many of the people in our church today, it's like a brand new thing they never heard about before because nobody's told them. And for some reason, we can read a book and not know what it says. Thoughts from the Mount of Blessing. Now, do we have that one? Page 30. In all ages, Satan has persecuted the people of God. He has tortured them. He's put them to death. But in dying, they became conquerors. They revealed in their steadfast faith a mightier one than Satan. Satan could torture and kill the body, but he could not touch the life that was hid with Christ in God. He could incarcerate in prison walls, but he could not bind the spirit. They could look beyond the gloom to the glory, saying, I reckon that the sufferings of this present time are not worthy to be compared with the glory which shall be revealed in us. Our light affliction, which is but a moment, worketh for us a far more exceeding and eternal weight of glory. Oh, I left out the part where she says it. I'm sorry, you'll have to go read. Wait a minute. Oh, I did include it. Through trials and persecution. Here we go. The glory, character of God is revealed in His chosen ones. The church of God, hated and persecuted by the world, are educated and disciplined in the school of Christ. They walk in narrow paths on earth. They are purified in the furnace of affliction. They follow Christ through sore conflicts. They endure self-denial and experience bitter disappointments, but their painful experience teaches them the guilt and woe of sin, and they look upon it with abhorrence. Being partakers of Christ's sufferings, they are destined to be partakers of His glory. In Holy Vision, the prophet saw the triumph of the people of God. He says, I saw, as it were, a sea of glass mingled with fire, and them that had gotten the victory stand on the sea of glass, having the harps of God, and they sing the song of Moses, the servant of God. And the song of the Lamb, saying, Great and marvelous are thy works, Lord God Almighty. Just and true are thy ways, thou King of saints. These are they which come out of great tribulation, and have washed their robes, and made them white in the blood of the Lamb. Therefore are they before the throne of God, and serve Him day and night in His temple. He that sitteth on the throne shall dwell among them. That's the next thing that they say, misunderstanding. They say only Seventh-day Adventists will be priests with Jesus and go wherever He goes. That's not true. The redeemed all have the same privileges. Heavenly place. All right, let me try this one. In Heavenly Places, page 272. I don't remember where it is in the regular books. In Heavenly Places, 272. Mary, dear precious child, is at rest. What's that mean? She's dead, right? Mary is dead. She was the companion of your sorrows and disappointed hopes. She will no more have grief or want or distress. Through faith's discerning eye, you may anticipate amid your sorrows and griefs and perplexities. Your Mary with her mother and other members of your family answering the call of life giver and coming forth from the prison house, triumphing over death and the grave. Your faith may see the loved and lost ones reunited among the redeemed of earth. You will with them, ere long, if faithful, be walking in the streets of New Jerusalem, singing the song of Moses and the Lamb wearing the jeweled crown. You mean to say dead Adventists will sing that too? Yes. Is Ellen White dead? Yes. She's going to sing it. Is Loughborough dead? He's going to sing it. Every faithful Seventh-day Adventist is going to sing it, dead or not. We have been told another one. You can't die and be one of the 144,000. That's a lie. Now, that's all coming out of the study we did today. Moses sang there after the triumph of God because he knew who God was. It's time we started singing. Yeah, we can sing that song. We've got to believe what God says. We're one of the 144,000. You know, I think it's really fantastic that God is going to give a special reward to the Adventists who died. They all had the same message. Jesus is coming. Jesus is coming. Jesus is coming. And then they die. And I'm sure many of them thought before they died, oh, we thought he was coming. I thought I was going to see him come. Well, they are going to see him come. Nobody told them. Yes. I told it to HMS Richards, and he had believed the other way so long he couldn't get it, but that's all right. He's going to see Jesus come. That man was faithful. He was a fantastic Christian. He was like us. He had his weaknesses and things, but he was a Christian. And when he sees Jesus come, I know the reaction he's going to have, because that man really wanted to see Jesus come. And that's one of the things he told me just before he died. He said, oh, I had hoped I'd be still alive and I'd see him come. Yeah. Somebody once told me, one of the reformers of the Adventist church, they said, you know, that HMS Richards, he was no good. I said, he called himself chief. That's a sin. And he did this and he did that. And I looked at him, I said, you know, you ought to be careful about what you say. I mean, if you're redeemed, and then you see Elder Richards there as one of the throngs, what are you going to say to him about what you said to other people? Well, he was dead. You know, I'll say one thing about Elder Richards that made me able to talk like that. I had the opportunity to speak in Thousand Oaks. They have a place there for Seventh-day Adventists who are dying. And that's where they took Elder Richards. He had 3 strokes. They knew he wasn't going to last very much longer. The only way he could get around was in a wheelchair. He couldn't even stand up anymore. And I was speaking to this group of Seventh-day Adventists getting ready to die. And there was a call made for those who could to stand for Jesus. And that was not a literal call. It was just a, make yourself known. And that man, who could just barely understand what I was saying, I'm sure, tried to stand up in that wheelchair with his feet in those things. And even a healthy man can't stand up in those things. And here he was trying to show that he was willing to stand for Jesus in his condition. So to his dying day, that man had it in his heart to witness and to testify of his love to Jesus. Yeah. And so I could not find it in my heart to listen to this man criticizing that person that way. That was not going to go down. We must be, each of us, getting ready to sing the song of Moses and the Lamb. And know that you're already in that group. Don't let anybody talk you out of it and say, oh, you have to be one of those or one of those. No, you're already one. One last thing. Ellen White said, if you covet anything, covet to be one of the 144,000. And very few people have understood that statement. All she was saying was, if there's anything you want in this life, it's to be a Christian. A real Christian. Okay.